I'm coming to you all tonight from my room and from a very tender space within my heart to talk about belonging. I just finished co-hosting a moon circle with two of my friends, Ellie and Mariah, and the theme was on belonging. And we had a conversation about belonging and just all shared our thoughts and stories around what it has meant to belong in our life. And then we did a little self-touch ritual, and it got me in a very tender space of feeling. So I'm wanting to share. So I have a really strong memory, and I have a lot of memories from childhood, and a few specific ones are coming up. One of my friend in preschool, and how that the sense of wanting to fit in and connect with someone by being similar to them came up starting really young. And so my friend wore princess dresses and I felt like she was cool. She was like one of the cool kids even in preschool. And so I remember wanting to start wearing princess dresses too, and wanting to just be like her, because I wanted to feel like I belonged in our friendship and like I fit in with her. And I also, I think for so long, the sense of what I thought belonging was, I thought it had to do with being just like someone else. I thought it had to do with sameness. The other memory that was coming up is one of my best friends from childhood, different person. I knew her starting even before preschool. And I would copy her, and I remember her calling me out on that, of just saying like, Anna, you always copy me, or why do you like copy me? And that sense of copying like being something to be ashamed of, kind of. And this interesting dance of not wanting to copy, but also wanting to be similar enough to someone to still belong. And that tension in me of wanting to be like everyone else and yet stand out so I'm not just copying them is a pattern that developed really young and stayed with me throughout adolescence. And so today in the circle we talked about what is the difference between belonging and fitting in. And a good friend of mine, Anya, brought up the concept of how the term fitting in, it conjures up a sense of like a physical space. Like you have to fit into it, and is there room? Like how much space can I take up when I'm trying to fit in? Like we're morphing ourselves into a certain mold, whereas belonging feels more spacious and like we can breathe, and as though we can just exhale and bring all of ourselves forward. And someone else, Charlotte on the call, talked about belonging, like the physical word and the etymology of it, which we're still unsure of, but just how longing is a part of it. And the be before it may mean may have a root meaning before, and so it's like before the longing there is a sense of just contentment and being nourished by the people in our surroundings. And it's taken me so long to find this within myself and outside of myself, and only now that I'm finding a sense of belonging within me am I recognizing the spaces that I belong outside of me. And so I'm not sure where this conversation will lead me right now, but I just really wanted to tenderly share belonging and what it means and how it's been. And so preschool, elementary school. Here's an interesting piece I will share. So I switched schools when I was in third grade, and we moved houses, and then I went to this like neighborhood school, and there was a group of neighborhood girls that my mom was friends with their moms, and I I just never really clicked with them, or it just happened that I wasn't super close with them. Um, and but I was close with this girl Serene, and she on like the second day of school there, we just became really good friends. And then I became friends with other people in the school, Nairi and Aileen, and they became like my best friends at elementary school, and I did find that sense of belonging with them. And then the shift to middle school was very intense because um, I felt like I had cultivated a sense of place in elementary school, and then middle school was just like a very stark shift to all of a sudden we weren't this small school, it was a huge school. We were rotating classes. There was just like a lot of social dynamics that I was not prepared for, and wearing makeup, and people like being flirtatious, and all this pressure to like, yeah, and also like just the experience of going through puberty and switching schools and all of that, and like I felt super uncomfortable in my body, and the belonging piece that happened for me there is it so happened that in elementary school the majority of my friends were Armenian. I live in Glendale, and there is a big Armenian population here, and it just happened that that's the people that I befriended, and I didn't think I didn't think anything of it until middle school, where there was a lot of racial division. There was a place in our middle school that people referred to as the Armo Corner, and that area was for the cool Armenian group, and then the friends that I had made hung out in a different place at the bottom of the amphitheater, which was like various other Armenian people hung out, but it wasn't the cool Armenian space. And so this like added, so I'm not Armenian, and so this added like another layer that I hadn't considered before. And I still felt close with my friends, but a lot of times in that space, people would be speaking Armenian during lunch breaks and such, and like sometimes people would think I was Armenian and speak like to me, and then realize I wasn't, and then created just like an interesting vibe. And so while my friends never like asked me not to be there, they still wanted me to be there. I started to feel like, oh, okay, this just isn't my vibe right now. And so I kind of distanced myself and found a different group that I didn't really feel like I fit in with. Yeah, and so that group I ended up being friends with for a little bit, and then in high school found more of a sense of belonging. But if I'm dropping it back into my body and how I felt, even as I'm speaking, I feel more of like a restriction in my chest, and just a like just tension, like a holding on, that sense of fitting in that Anya brought up, or Ellie, another woman on the call, talked about like she imagined like fitting into a pair of jeans where it's like doesn't really fit, but I'm gonna just hold it in and wear it. That sense of clenching and tension. And so a lot of my relationship to belonging has involved tension and holding back. And so, okay, all of that, middle school, high school, I did find people that I fit in with more, and yet there still often felt like maybe a lack of safety in bringing all of me forward, or there were parts of me that were hidden that I didn't even realize were hidden. And so, yeah, in the past few years, navigating all these different circles that I've been a part of is interesting, because I've felt sometimes like a chameleon, able to adapt to my surroundings very well. And because I have such a desire to connect with people, to understand and feel them and have them feel me, a pattern of mine is to be that chameleon and alter parts of who I am in order to connect. And I think that is something that so many of us do. We alter parts of ourselves to connect to others because we're craving that connection, we're craving that intimacy, we're craving feeling safe and seen and heard. And so much of what I thought belonging was about, as I said before, that sense of sameness. And I didn't realize that belonging in the fullness of who I am was even possible. Yeah, didn't realize it was possible. And a place that I have found a lot of belonging is through romantic relationships. And on the call tonight, we did a little self-touch ritual where I guided us through touching our hair and touching our face and our neck and our heart space and just our bodies, and touching ourselves as we would a lover, and really allowing our bodies to meet our hands with the touch, so it's a mutual relationship. And we did this in order to remind ourselves that we belong in our own bodies and to ourselves, and that we have the power to create that sense of safety and belonging that we're often craving. And that in creating that sense of belonging in our own body, it feels for me like an exhale and a release of sorts. And then I'm able to feel so seated in my own power, in my own womb and body, that I naturally find myself in situations where I do belong, where I am drawing people towards me that accept all these different parts of me and are willing to listen to them. And when I am in situations where I don't feel that sense of like safety, I'm aware of it now, and I didn't quite used to be so in tune with it. And I'm aware that it's okay for me to be in a situation where I may not belong, because it doesn't mean that I'm worthless. It doesn't mean that I need to change. It simply means that I am around people who are not my soul family and tribe, and that's okay. And I'm also, I'm allowed to have that circle that I do vibe with. And that feels so good to say and to believe. And again, today on the call was a deep reminder of that. And as I was sharing my medicine and speaking and guiding, and then listening to everyone's response, it was this very tender is the word I keep wanting to use, tender and sweet reminder that, oh, I do belong. And oh, people, like, I'm not alone in these feelings of tension and constriction and yearning to be held and seen and heard. And it was really sweet to be reminded that that I belong. And yeah, I'm grateful for that. So that's belonging for me. And having gotten out of a relationship recently, and in which I felt that deep sense of belonging one-on-one, it feels exciting to expand that sense of belonging into other areas of my life, and continue to create that container of being held by myself. It feels so good. Yeah, it's like, I've got me. I'm here. I belong. And so I wanted to share a few words that people on the call mentioned, just anonymously, but there were so many juicy words around belonging and what it means to belong and what that feels like. And I was writing them down throughout the call. So I'll just share a few things that people said. It's like a little word bubble. So, come home, nourishing, relax, understanding, just be, really truly get me, gratitude, before the longing, rooted in my stomach, satisfied, groundedness, safe space, comfortable, no worries, belief, joy, true essence, authentic, weird, wacky, self, wild, tribe, wonderful feeling, instinctual, ancestral, primal feeling, accepted, who I really am matters, not negotiating who I am to please someone else, safe space, heard and seen, all of me is welcome, intimacy. Yeah, so that is our little word bubble of belonging, and yeah, that's what I wanted to share today. I think that it feels really cool to have a community of people who want to just kind of bring all of themselves forward and know that like not every single aspect of someone has to be present in the moment. And that's what I felt from the Moon Circle community I'm doing, and also what belonging feels like to me is people know that I have a tender side and I have a wild side and an angry side, and all these different aspects of me are witnessed and honored. And part of this project, All of Me project, is about that too, just showing these various facets of who I am, and bringing them online in the literal online sphere, and also online in my own life. And the more and more I am able to accept these parts of myself and feed them and nourish them, the more natural it feels to share them with the world and with the groups that I'm part of. So yes, thank you for listening to this little thought stream on belonging. And I invite you to share in the comments what belonging is to you, or any memory about belonging, or anything that you want to share. And I also am extending an invitation to any female ID'd people and any women and gender non-binary people who would like to be part of the Moon Circle community. Please send me an email. You can find my website down below, and the website has a form which you can submit, so be in touch through that. And please subscribe to this channel. That would really be amazing. I want to connect with others who are on a healing journey and are sharing their truth and walking their path. So thank you, and let's all remember that we create a sense of belonging in our own system first, and we're all worthy of belonging to ourselves, to this earth, and to communities that see, feel, hear, and meet us where we're at.